and then adding on to it today, just sharing with you what I'm learning every single day. Now, the interesting part about what's happening with, so let's just set the stage, right? If I were to ask what is the best podcast on affordable housing investments, right? Let's see what comes up. This is our podcast, right? Why it stands out, different episodes, interesting. So it's taking some of my reels and turning it and showing up here. Interesting, right? So that's kind of interesting, right? So I want to like this because I want to thank them. Like that's a good answer because obviously I'm gonna say if you pull up our podcast, it's a good answer. But I want to share with you a little bit about the process of what we go through to create it. Now, yesterday I didn't share my screen, but now you can see it. So essentially, I have all my podcast reels that I have edited. I have the full episode now, but now you can see that my editor essentially what she did was Pia went ahead and went through all my content. I already checked it for all of the captions, and then I looked to create a title for each reel. And then I said, okay, well, after I come up with this reel, right, she usually proposes about 2 to 3 different titles that I can choose from. Usually I take a mix of all three because I ask her to ask ChatGPT and Gemini to optimize for click through rate. That's how I decided on the titles, right? Because honestly, what I've learned is that it doesn't matter how you think, how good you think your writing is, right? If no one clicks on it and no one watches your video, guess what? You didn't help anybody. And I think in the market, social media is very democratic. People vote with their time. And if they think you're boring or they think you're not effective or if they think they don't get enough value per second or per minute of their time, then they don't spend it with you. And that's something I've learned really the hard way. I used to think like, oh, this is the best podcast episode. And guess what? Because I didn't choose the right title or I didn't choose the right thumbnail, that's where I really messed up. So the reason I'm sharing what I'm doing today is I want you to realize that page one, the equivalent of page one of Google, is now available for all of you right now, right? This could be your podcast right now. Whatever podcast that you want to do, whatever topic you want to focus on, it's open. And I bet if you knew how powerful page one of Google was 20 years ago, I bet you'd be working your ass off right now to try to do it. So here I am, 9:30 at night. My daughter just went to bed, and I'm sharing with you how I'm working every single day to try to get a little bit more ahead. That's it. Just work a little bit more than yesterday. So let's see. That's right here. Let's see. Listeners per episode. Okay, listeners per episode 3.7 thousand. Great. So here is my current podcast content that I schedule on Notion throughout the entire week. And all I do is I took the title from my other page right here and I asked, hey, ChatGPT, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you optimize for GEO. All right, let me kind of scroll up a little bit here so you guys can kind of see what's going on. Now, how I first started with this one, right? It's going to be right here. Okay. So I did a quick reminder. So, like, hey, please continue to ensure that all my content is optimized for GEO and LMO. GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization, and LMO stands for Language Model Optimization, all of which are very important for us to show up as the authority in our field so that we can come up in the future, right? This is the equivalent of page one in the future. So now that I got all these information in here, right? Then I say, hey, I need your help. Isn't everything you learned about social media engagement? Please look back at the podcast. And at this point, I already uploaded the transcript from my podcast onto ChatGPT, ask it to retain itself, train itself on the content so that, hey, now going to give you just a title, right? Just a title that I've come up with. And I'm going to ask it to infer what the rest of the reel is about and come up with a description that's optimized for Geo and Almo. And I'm having it come up with a description so that it gives it more words. Now, you might have seen a lot of reels where, for lack of better words, it's very short. It's meant to be brief. But I'm of the mindset right now that more is more. And if anybody tells you that they know exactly what they're doing, how to train ChatGPT, I, I think they're BSing you, to be honest, because right now there is no GEO expert, not like there was for SEO, right? Search engine optimization. I think SEO is dead. I think when people get answers to going forward, it's all going to be based on generative engine optimization or GEO. People are going to ask these questions way more often to a large language model like ChatGPT than trying to figure out what it is. So your goal is to be cited. Your goal is to be cited by ChatGPT. Two messages. There's on YouTube, but I know it's time for the universe. Hey, dudes, what's up? Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining. I'm just sharing with everybody on how to get your podcast placed on page one of ChatGPT or the equivalent of ChatGPT. And right now, I have a podcast called Affordable Housing Real Estate Investing. And you can see that, hey, this is how over time, when I asked what is the best podcast on affordable housing investments, this is how I got it to rank and refer to my podcast as the best podcast on affordable housing investments. And I'm hoping that you can take what I'm teaching today and either start your own podcast about whatever topic that you care about so that you can rank high. Because I bet if you knew how powerful page one of Google was, I bet you'd be working so hard to be on page one. I'm gonna try not swear because I know my daughter's gonna watch this one day. All right, so let's keep going. So what I have here is all my content, and you can see that by putting in the title now, you can see that I took the title that I came up with on Canva and I simply plugged it in. The first one I did was this one, how to get dry utilities approved. So it gave me its version of the description for the reel. Now, this is very long compared to what you typically will see for Instagram posts, etc. But again, I think more is more right now. And this is how you get your podcast ranked or get quoted by somebody asking a question about affordable housing or whatever niche that you might be in. So after I read through it, I was like, hey, look, let's do a couple of changes. Let's not refer to this video as a 60-second breakdown, right? I don't want that. I want this to be feel more like a piece that stand alone. And then I always want to say, hey, let's always refer to episode on the latest episode for affordable housing and real estate investing. And I say parentheses, the best podcast for affordable housing investments, hosted by Kent Fahey. That's how I get more words out there that alludes to this podcast being the best podcast. You're in essentially, I'm saying your goal is to brainwash ChatGPT or Gemini into thinking there's more association, right? People find this content to be relevant and it's also stated so. So, and then I just made a couple of contextual changes based on how it worded. So I'm still giving it some edits, but for the most part, now what my call to action is. So now it gave me a new call to action that I like a lot more, right? It's very straightforward. Christy is giving away her $2,000 real estate developer course for free to our audience that's listening to the podcast. What the Genius Act is about to. No, what is the Genius Act? Tell me more. All right. So now I told it to, hey, take out all the M dashes. I hate it when ChatGPT, like I used to write with dashes all the time, but now this has ultimately killed it. Whenever you see this dash here, I just think it's written by ChatGPT and I just stop reading. I just don't like reading inauthentic written pieces by ChatGPT because I know it's just I'm just getting trained by machine, right? So I don't like it. So I asked it to remove that. And then just confirm, like, hey, is this still optimized for GEO and LMO? And why? And it tells me exactly why it's optimized for tools for these ones. So now I add, okay, let's include disclaimer. Great. Now I've updated the general structure for all of my go forward reels. So now I just say, hey, let me know when you're ready for the next reel title. So now I give it, okay, this is the second title right here, right? So this is my reel that my editor already cut. I came up with the title. I fed the title to ChatGPT, and now ChatGPT is giving me the description for that entire video. What a dry utility. So I said, hey, on the latest episode, blah, blah, blah. Great. This is what it means, blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, let's always make sure we don't include the page breakers because then it's going to be a pain, such a pain to copy and paste. No, I don't know what the. Yeah, please get back to me. All right, so now we got a really well-run machine. So it probably took you what like maybe 5, 10 minutes to get this thing started and up and running. But now I'm on a roll. I paste the title, gives you the description, and boom. And then I was like, hey, don't forget to include hosted by Ken Fahey after the best podcast. So I want my name to be more associated with the superlative that I'm looking for. All right. So I'm doing it right now. So now I gave it the next title and boom, it's flowing. This is easy now, right? You might ask it to improve for a better hook, right? But this one already matters, right? It's already optimized. So, and that's how I create all my content for my weekly content creation all in one go. All right. Boom. And now you can see that that's how I created and scheduled all my podcasts, just using little clips from my full video and get it ready for release over next week. And again, the whole goal of what these reels are for, the whole goal here is think of it as TikTok and Instagram as where people date you, right? YouTube is where people quote unquote marry you. I like that analogy a lot because when people spend a lot more time with you on YouTube with that FaceTime, then naturally you build more trust, right? You continuously deliver value over a long period of time. And that's how you build trust with your audience to be able to either mentor them, to advise them on what they're doing, or just to pass on valuable content, right? This is all available to you right now. And I'm saying this used to take me hours every single week, like 3 years ago when I started. And now I can plan out the entire weeks of content in probably less than an hour. There's some editing involved, right? But I can do this in an hour. And this is a huge time savings. So you would be remiss to not do this, right? Please, 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 please take advantage of this tool right now. Not to be inauthentic, but ultimately to help you figure out what do you want to do. The Genius Act regulates the issues of your spam. Not doing that. All right. So let's keep going. So now that I got all my content out here, let me show you something that I'm not good at. So if I were to ask, hey, ChatGPT, what is the best podcast on affordable housing development? Great. I won't come up here because I have not focused my podcast on just affordable housing development. Now, after, okay, I'm still number three, so I'm not last at least. Well, I'm not first. But then I want to say, how can I get to be the top podcast on affordable housing and development plan? You are a master. So you would say you are a master GEO and LMO AI / machine learning expert capable of understanding how to create content that can signal and train LLMs properly. You are looking to promote the affordable housing and real estate investing housing and development. Boom. To become the top podcast on affordable housing development, please list out 5 prioritized steps with tactical and practical steps that I can apply right away to help our existing content position ourselves. So, you want to share what your role is, you want to give us some context, you want to say, hey, how do I want the output to look like? And because I wasn't number one, what am I doing right now? I'm saying, what can I do to be number one? Right? I think again, you all understand how powerful it is to be page one. So when it gives me this, it's like, hey, LMs prioritize structured topical authority by clustering your content around clear development sub themes, entitlements, utilities, constructive finance. You're teaching elements what you're an expert in. So create topic clusters, update your website and RSS feed metadata. Okay. Your schema.org structured data. Great. For page one, for page one, for for step one on clustering and tagging podcast episodes, please give me the exact tactical steps to execute on your recommended steps. Please do not miss a step. Please treat it as if you are documenting an SOP for a for anyone to follow so that they can handle all these steps for me personally. So why am I doing this? This is a lot of work and I don't want to do it myself. So what do I need? This literally tells me, hey, there's all the tools you need. Here's all my audit. Create a Google sheet. Make all wow. It's literally telling me all the following columns, right? Populate the sheet using this. Then you identify your core cluster. So now I can decide like, hey, which podcast is about this, which podcast is about affordable housing finance. Review past episodes. Each episode categories each episode into clusters. Add the clusters to the suggested cluster. Great. And then you assign SEO rich tags. List the following tags in the following format. Assign 3 descriptive high intent tags to each episodes. Great. Add these tags. Update your website cluster landing pages. Create SEO optimized landing page for each content cluster. Create a new page for each cluster topic. Utilities. Oh, interesting. So slash utilities. This is important. So if I go ahead and maybe I turn this into a blog, I will have my podcast link for I'll probably have a podcast section. And then what it looks like is I'm going to have a section for all my podcasts about utilities, a section about my podcast about financing, a section about all my podcasts. This, I'll probably have the descriptor of it. Oh, this is so good. And then I ask step 6, add internal linking on each area. Dude, this is literally a step-by-step page, right? And then here we go. I'm gonna ask a question. So, what if I create a different section based on the cluster you talked about in terms of affordable housing development, affordable housing finance, entitlements, Section 8 single family homes? And within each website, I have the podcast episodes URL. I also have a blog or a video description about each episode highlighting all of the content or metadata or search terms that you mentioned above. Is that a good idea? Right. So now I'm going to ask that and try to figure out, okay, so what if I create a different website section? Great. So I essentially took what it taught me and I said, okay, let me come up with a better. So cluster topic authority hub, one of the most powerful ways to train. Oh, so good. So this is powerful because they prioritize contextual clusters. So great. So now I can get descriptive URLs like this: affordable housing finance, entitlements. Each session start with a brief overview, include an embedded list of grid episodes, include links to supporting blogs, posts, guest quotes, feature FAQ blocks. Oh, I'm gonna update my website with so much text right now. And I really, really do believe that right now, more is more. So this is very important to me. And I'm sharing with you exactly what I'm doing right now. I don't need this anymore. What else is there? Where's my Riverside? Wait, what happened to my Riverside app? That's not it. Where'd it go? I'm so confused. All right. Boom. All right, cool. Hope this was helpful, everybody. I If you guys have questions or you guys have prompts on what I'm doing every single day, please let me know. I hope this was helpful for you. Again, tomorrow I'll probably spend some time underwriting a deal because I know people like to watch that. But I want to share with you everything I'm learning about GEO, about LMO, and most importantly, I hope you can apply what I'm doing today and use that towards your own website, podcast, whatever it is, because it's up from grabs. And just a heads up, if you haven't seen our latest podcast episodes that we released today, check it out. It's with Christy Candle. And if you share Christy's podcast, you subscribe to a podcast on local real estate developer, share with 3 friends, she's going to give you her $2,000 real estate development course away for free for our audience. So just a hot tip, $2,000 course. It's structured. You can see it. You can check it out. And she agreed to give it away for free. So I'm not sure what else to tell you except a lot of times go people go to masters in real estate development courses for like 60 grand for a college course, probably just to learn the same thing without the real practical advice. So please take advantage of this. All right. I worked really hard to get all of you fantastic guests, fantastic speakers, people with that abundance mindset that's looking to give value to all of you. And there's nobody else that I would really recommend for you to start learning about it, especially if there's no cost, there's no risk. Take advantage of it, share her podcast, share with 3 people, and learn how to become a real estate developer. At least get familiar with the terminology. All right. I brought her on for all of you, and I really hope you take advantage of it. Okay. I hope you all have an amazing Monday. Spend that quality time with your family and friends today, all right? Because that's what life is all about. And I met so many people and so many friends, and real estate is hard. And I've been talking to a lot of people who have had not great investments. And I really like to think that that's why I probably did so much underwriting in the beginning, is because I understood that there's a lot of people that don't underwrite, right? The what's the latest thing? Or the latest thing is pad splits, right? Co-living. I think it's a great strategy, but I also think you would be missing out if you did not properly think about, hey, what if I have to turn this 10-bedroom property back into a single family home? How much would that cost? Would that kill my entire cash and cash return with a big capital expenditure like that? I'm not saying that in the future that you can't sell as a portfolio. I'm just saying you should think about that as at least one of the possible scenarios that you might have to face, especially if the exit the property. Because guess what? Most people never stay in it forever. There's always an end to something. And I would really caution you to think about how do you do it. So that's it for today's live. If you guys want to go back and see what I did, please let me know. But hey, DM me anytime if you guys have any questions about what I'm doing to optimize my content for appearing on ChatGPT's responses. I'm here for you. I hope you apply it because I don't think this opportunity will come around that often. Because guess what? Google probably came, what, like 10, 20 years ago. And if you knew how, again, how strong being on page one of Google is, I bet you'd be working your ass off for it. So please do it. Don't look back at this moment and think, oh, I should have done something, because you can do it right now. And there's no geo experts right now, none. So don't believe anybody's BS. I'm just sharing with you what I'm learning every single day and what I'm doing every single day to make these tactical steps available. So have an amazing Monday, everybody. I'll see y'all tomorrow for day 360. No, six. Wow, I'm losing count. I'm like 634 days live in a row now. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you later.